Alright, so now you've reached the third and final video of the MyDailyMark budgeting tool. And if you found this one first, not a problem, that's awesome. You searched a really cool keyword and you found me. But I do encourage you to go back a couple so that way you can find out all about the MyDailyMark budgeting tool. And if you haven't actually seen the tool yet, then go to MyDailyMark.com, search for budgeting, and there's going to be a post out there with the budgeting tool in it, and that's completely free. So in this video, I want to talk a little bit about setting up your monthly budget. Now it can be a little bit odd trying to set up exactly how much you're going to spend in each category, especially when you break it down to the level that I have. Now you don't have to use all the levels and all the categories that I did, but I do encourage you to break it up into really meaningful categories so that way you can know where your money's going and potentially where it's being wasted. Now this monthly budgeting tool is pretty user-friendly, especially as you get further along, because you'll be able to look back several months. So let me just go through exactly how I set up my monthly budget, and hopefully that leads you to be able to set yours up so that way it works best for you.
In the first video, we reviewed the example budget guide and the checkbook example guide. Both tabs are found down here at the bottom in red, which have a lot of extra text that you can always look back and reference in case you do have any questions on how to operate the budget. In the second video, we reviewed how to operate the checkbook example for each individual month, because there's a checkbook for each month, and how I use my online checking, savings, and credit card accounts to actually pull my expenses, and how I use the legend over at the right to enter my categories, so that way these expenses will track on your budget. Now in this video, I did want to go over how to set up your first budget as well as each budget after that. As I mentioned in the previous video, your January budget tab is actually going to be your master, and anything you change here for your category names will automatically change every single checkbook and budget throughout the year. So that way you only have to do this once and you can make it specific. So no matter what month you're starting at, go back to your January budget and change the category names. So what I mean by that is instead of saying paycheck 1, which is very generic, go ahead and change to something that you know what it is. So we'll say mark paycheck. Same with paycheck 2 all the way down. Instead of mortgage and rent, let's just say you guys don't rent, you have a mortgage. Instead of auto loan 1, actually enter the car name, and you'll do that all the way through. As you come down here, you can see I even entered Chase credit card and a Bank of America credit card. So enter each account name, and say you don't have a student loan or you don't have a third credit card, that's great. No worries, all you have to do is just delete that, and that way you don't have to worry about it, and each budget thereafter, it'll be blank. You're going to do the same thing with all of your checking and savings accounts. So say you have a Bank of America checking, you'll enter that, and same throughout the rest of these. And same as before, instead of entering savings accounts that you don't have, it's pretty easy. All you have to do is hit the delete button and you'll zero that out. You don't have to worry about that budget moving forward. This down right here says retirement 1 or retirement 2. This is for reference only. So you're going to look at it for the budget and it's going to be included on your total and accounts, which we'll get to here in a minute. But you're actually not going to put any expenses to it because that is taken out before you get paid. And this is just for your reference only to make it easier on you to track. It's also very important that these expense categories, your occasional and your basic need expenses, are very specific to you, because if you don't have childcare, there's no reason to have it. So put another expense in there that makes sense for you. Now, each of these categories should be something that you spend a little bit of money on, rather than just a pack of gum category or a water at a convenience store category. You don't need to get that specific. Then you need to have more general categories, because if you make it too specific, then it's going to mean less, and you're not going to be able to find ways to cut spending just because it's too daunting. So all of those other small little things you're going to purchase, we do have a category down here called Other, which we can get to here in a little while, and that's kind of a catch-all. Now let's go back up and actually set the budget for a couple of items here, and I'll show you how to operate this. Sometimes people get a little bit nervous about creating a monthly budget because it can sometimes be difficult to determine how much you're going to spend in each category and how much you really have left. But that's where this budget tool comes into play. It actually makes it very simple to determine what your budget should be. So the first thing you need to do is come over here, and everything in orange you're going to update with your expected budget. Now I like to do this about a week before the month begins, so that way I have a lot of the bills already in hand for that month and I can budget appropriately. The first thing you're going to do is enter your paycheck after tax. So you're going to enter it after 401k, tax. This is essentially just what gets put into your account. So you're going to enter each of these down to the penny, as well as off your paycheck, just for reference, is your health, dental, visual insurance, life insurance, and your flexible savings account for your health insurance if you have that. And this is just for your reference only because I like to track that as well. You're going to do the same down for monthly bills. Now, I do have a section right here called fixed monthly. So most of these, you're going to know exactly how much you're going to be spending each month because these are fixed bills. So you're going to enter each one of these expenses as well. Just entering a few dummy numbers in here. So I've entered each of these expenses down to the penny of what we think. Now, HOA and other expenses that you know what the set expense is, but you may not have to pay every single month, you can leave it in here and just leave it blank. And whenever that HOA fee comes up, or if you have any other expense that you want to change this category to, you can do that as well. And then you just enter it the month that you're actually paying it. For your variable monthly, water, gas, electric, toll, a lot of times you have that bill a week before the month starts, so you can enter the exact amount that you're actually going to pay that month. If not, use the previous month as an example and go ahead and enter what you think you're going to be paying. For your credit payments, I always suggest paying the minimum on one and paying as aggressively as you can on the other, just to get down your debt. If you were paying it off each month, then that's fine. And so we'll act like we're paying a minimum there, and we're going to go pretty aggressive because we're trying to pay off the Bank of America credit card. If you have other credit cards, again, you can just enter those right there. If not, you just leave them blank. So we've entered all of our savings and checking accounts. Now these are a little bit different because you're not budgeting an expense, you're budgeting how much to actually put into checking and savings. So say we're trying to do an aggressive emergency plan and we're trying to increase our Bank of America savings. So let's go and enter $400 there. And we'll leave everything else blank because we're using that one as our emergency fund. You can enter whatever you want, but for this example, we'll just say 400, and that's where our emergency fund is. All right, so up until this point, all of the monthly bills and savings and all that's pretty cut and dry. It's pretty easy to determine exactly how much you're going to be spending each month. Now, where it gets a little bit more tricky is in your expense categories that we have listed here that we've already customized on the January budget tool. But in order to make that more simple on you, I actually have a basic budget that tells you exactly how much you have left. So based on our monthly income that we entered at the very top, this is complete take home, we had $63.39.18 coming in this month. Our fixed expenses, the bills that we know we have coming in, are $2,340.80. Variable bills, something we've already entered, credit card payments, and monthly savings, non-retirement. That's how much we've already said we're going to save. So that means that for all these other expenses, medical, groceries, auto insurance, gifts, etc., we've got $2,867.51. And of course, this will be customized to whatever numbers you put in. So that means that we've got $2,800 roughly that we can enter in all of these expenses to zero out our budget, because every single penny that you have coming in has a place each month. So we're going to go ahead and enter some of those expenses and see what we come up with. So for medical, say we have $100 that we know we will probably spend this month. For groceries, last month we spent $800. Let's try to get that down to $750. So I've entered $800 for child care, etc., all the way down. And it shows that we have negative $272.49. So over here I have a little note that said this should always be zero. Now what this means is every single penny has a place in the budget, whether it's savings, credit card payments, mortgage, or an actual expense. So this right here means that we have actually allocated $272 more than what we're making this month, which is not acceptable. So there's only two ways to zero this out. And that's either to reduce our expenses by this dollar amount exactly, or reduce our savings. Now we've already determined that we want to save $400 this month to get to that aggressive emergency plan savings that we have. So that means we probably need to go ahead and reduce our spending as much as we can, and as well as long as it makes sense for us, because you don't want to get too crazy and then miss your budget completely. So groceries, we think we can knock down another $50. Childcare, we really can't do anything. Eating out, entertainment, that's obviously something we can knock down, so go down there. Pet grooming, we can wait another month. I'll wait another month for my haircut, so it'll take us around $120. Continuous learning, that's something that we can cut as well. Say we don't want to do all of our classes, we can just do half. And so now we're $2.49 over. I'm a perfectionist, so we'll go ahead and take this down to zero out the budget completely. So now we're at $0. So every single penny that we've earned is allocated to a budget and no more. This number right here shows $63.39.18. If you look up here, that is our monthly income. And what that means is how much do we have left based on what we assume we're going to make this month compared to what we have actually put in the checkbook, what we've actually spent, actually paid this month. So the other thing I always like to point out is if a bunch of expenses come in and you still know you have a $1,500 mortgage and it hasn't came out yet, you do have to kind of mentally account for that. But this is actually where you stand. A few of the tools that you can use on the spreadsheet is the comment section right here. So if you have an unexpected expense that's going to be in the other category that's going to raise that, like you're going to purchase a ticket for a flight, you can enter it here just that way you can always look back and see why this category or any of these categories is higher than what it normally is. The last thing that you need to do is at the beginning of the month, go ahead and update everything in blue here with the account totals. So the remaining left on your mortgage, remaining left on your loans, as well as your credit cards, or if you have any other student loans down here, you can enter that, and all of your checking and savings accounts. Now, this doesn't have to be updated every single week. This should just only be done at the beginning of the month, so that way you can just track your progress as you go from month to month. So now that your first monthly budget's done, it's actually going to be a lot easier as you move forward because you can use your actual expenses from the previous month to help determine your next month's budget. So as we move to the next month, we can see that all the category names have already changed, so that way we only had to do it once on the January budget tab. And then another thing that you'll notice is over here, all the budgets are 0 because it doesn't carry over from the previous month. But over here at the far right, you can see the actual expense previous month. So you can see what you actually reported spending the previous month. And so that way it'll help you determine what your budget should be. And this will continue to get more fine-tuned as you move forward. So that finishes our third and final video of the 3-part series for the MyDailyMark Budgeting Tool. Hopefully you guys see now that it's actually pretty easy to use and use it to your benefit to start saving money and spending money on things that you enjoy. If you have any questions, hit me up at www.mydailymark.com or at any of these social platforms, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Have a lot of fun on those platforms at MyDailyMark. And if you've missed the first 2 videos or just want a nice refresher, I've included the links here. The first is the budget tool overview, where I go over just the simple MyDailyMark budget tool and how to use it. And the second, and probably more importantly, is how to track your expenses in only 5 minutes a week. So make sure to check out those videos and visit me at MyDailyMark.com.